Gratitude is not pretending everything is fine. That's bypassing. Gratitude is not telling yourself, I shouldn't feel this way. Other people have it worse. Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. Hello, my friends. How are you? I know it's December, well, it'll be December 4th when you hear this, which is wild because it still feels like November to me. It does. And that's why today it feels very appropriate to talk about gratitude. I know traditionally November's our gratitude month, Thanksgiving month, if you're in the United States, but I'm going to bring it into December. We're going to talk about gratitude, and we're not going to talk about the version where you force yourself to quote unquote feel grateful so you can avoid what's actually going on inside of your body or inside of your life. I'm talking about gratitude as a technology for wiring your brain, for regulating your nervous system and creating your future intentionally and on purpose. And I want you to stay with me here if you're thinking, what in the world is she talking about? I'm going somewhere with this. It's important. I want you to listen up, because what I found to be the case, not only in my own life, but with almost every mom that I've worked with, it just came up this week as I was coaching someone, is that we misunderstand what gratitude actually does. And we use it in the wrong way. We use it to weaponize it against ourselves. And we use it to bypass our emotions instead of transform emotion. So we're not going to do that today. Today, I want to teach you how gratitude and presence work together to change your brain, to create new neural circuitry. That's the way we're going to talk about gratitude. And I want to connect this to a very simple statement that has changed my life forever. And the statement is, it doesn't get better than this. When you really understand gratitude, and when you really understand the power of this exact moment you're in right now, and right now, not 2 minutes ago, not 2 minutes in the future, but right now, these two ideas become pretty much the exact same idea. And when you bring them together in parenting and in all areas of your life, your entire emotional experience, it shifts, it changes. So I can't wait to unpack all of this for you, being present in this moment, realizing this is the best moment I have because this is the moment I have in this moment, and pairing that with the gratitude. It's so good. And it's something I'm constantly revisiting and trying to up-level and develop more because it's so important. So most of us, we're living as if the emotional experience we want is waiting for us somewhere out there in the future. And we don't even realize that we're doing it. It's just the background assumption of the human brain for most of us when we aren't intentionally trying to change it. It's this thought or a thought pattern. We're thinking, when I finally understand why my child is acting like this, then I'll feel better, or things will be better. When bedtime isn't such a battle, when we hit a calmer season, when I'm not so overwhelmed, when this phase is over, then I'll feel better. Then I'll feel connected. Then I'll feel like a good parent. Then I can be grateful. This is the illusion. The idea that the future is going to hand you some emotional upgrade that this exact moment you're in right now cannot. And listen, it's not just you, it's not just me, and it's not our fault. This is just the way that a human brain thinks by default, because our brains are wired for problem solving. It's wired to believe the next moment will be better because the next moment might solve the threat of this moment. But here's the reality that if we're not careful, we never stop to examine. We never even consider. I still remember I was walking on the trail near my house when this hit me probably 5 years ago. Really hit me. I'd been aware of it. I'd been dabbling in it. I'd been getting better at it for years, maybe 10 years before that. But 5 years ago, it hit me so strong. This concept that right in this moment, This is a 10 out of 10 moment. That this is as good as it gets. Right now, this is the best moment in my life. And it was profound. This idea just came up again with a group of amazing women I talk to basically every week. Almost every day we use Voxer. We share our stuff constantly with each other and help each other out. But one of the gals was explaining how this concept had really landed for her and what it was doing in her life again. And it brought up the memory of it, of this concept of this is as good as it gets. This is a 10 out of 10 moment. The future is not better than right now. And I have been thinking about it again on a really deep level for the last, I don't know how long it's been, multiple months. And I am very excited to talk to you all about it because when I share what I'm learning with you all, it helps me too. Because the reality, let me say it again, the reality that I am feeling so deeply lately is that our emotional capacity in this moment is what it is. And I get to appreciate this moment as a 10 out of 10 moment. Instead of thinking that the next moment is going to be better because the next moment might solve some problem. The idea that the future is going to hand you some emotional upgrade that this moment can't offer you, that's what we believe. That's the illusion. And listen, it's not your fault your brain thinks this way. Your brain is wired for problem solving. It's wired to believe that the next moment's going to be better than this moment. And it might solve some problem. Things might get better. You might show up better. But here's the reality that almost no one stops to examine. Our experience right now is the best moment in our life. Our ability to feel our emotions right now is what matters. Our ability to feel gratitude, steadiness, connection, joy, presence, calm is something we can tap into right now. And as we get better at feeling our emotions, sure, we are going to get better at holding all of our emotions, experiencing all of our emotions. But that happens because of how we are showing up in every moment and experiencing this moment. It doesn't happen just because our kids get bigger or because they grow out of a phase or because the house gets quieter or our pantry gets organized. Your capacity is already at the maximum it can be in this moment. This isn't some emotional superpower waiting to unlock once your circumstances finally behave themselves. Right in this moment, you have the capacity to feel all of the things, to experience joy and abundance the best you can in this moment. I'm not saying that in a year from now, you might have increased your ability to feel your emotions even fuller, to appreciate the moment you're in even more. But right now is the best moment in your life. And when you get to the year from now, that's going to be the best moment in your life, but not because it's better. It's going to be different, but not better. The best moment in our life is the moment we have right now. And this is where people misunderstand gratitude. They think gratitude is the reward for when we finally get our life to line up. They think gratitude is a reaction to everything going well. I used to think this. If I'm not careful, my brain still thinks this. And you know what? It's not. Gratitude is a skill you practice in the moment you least feel like practicing it, because that's the only moment that matters. This moment right now, this messy moment, this inconvenient moment, this imperfect moment is the only place your emotional power exists. And if you don't access it here in this moment, it's going to be hard for you to access it later. You just keep doing what the brain does, postponing your emotional life until you hit something different, until life hits the new season, when the kids get older, when life settles down, when I have more support, when they start listening, when I feel more patient, when I get more sleep, yada, 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 on and on and on, right? It will always be conditional. It will always be dangling just out of reach. It will always be almost. That's the mental habit that gratitude interrupts. Gratitude says, no, I'm not waiting for a future moment to give me permission to feel connected or steady or grounded. I can experience all of that right now in this moment, not because it's easy and not because my life is perfect, but because my capacity is something I'm going to lean into, and I'm going to believe that I have the ability to be present in this moment to the best of my ability. Like, I'm going to do the best I can. This is why the phrase, "it doesn't get better than this," is so powerful. Not because circumstances are perfect, but because it breaks the illusion that emotional life exists somewhere else. It teaches your brain that this is the only moment I will ever have access to. And if this is the only moment I will ever have access to gratitude, because it's the only moment that is, I want to live a grateful life. And I'm going to start right now. That's where your power is, right here, right now, not someday, not when everyone behaves, not when your schedules cooperate, right here, in the real, in the imperfect, unfiltered moment you're in. And the more you practice gratitude in this moment, the more your brain stops outsourcing your emotional life to your circumstances, to other people, and the more emotional authority you reclaim for yourself. It's so good, you all, and something I practice every single day. Today I was driving home from Pilates, and I have been really sorting through some big decisions lately about what I'm going to do on multiple levels. And I felt a little overwhelmed, and I felt a little uninclined. I don't think that's a word, but not inclined to process what was going on for me. I wanted to just feel better instantly. And what I did is I allowed myself to be grateful for the part of me that was trying to protect me so deeply. The part of me that didn't feel safe to feel all of the emotions coming up, the discomfort. Now, we just talked about, I think in the last episode, the uncertainty tolerance idea, which goes hand in hand with this. And the reason I'm speaking about all this, you all, is because I am really in the thick of it right now, and in the most beautiful way. And I'm so grateful for it. And I had to let myself sit in the car for a minute. I do hot Pilates, so I was completely drenched, but the car was fairly warm. It's very cold here right now. It snowed today. And I let myself be present and grateful and think this is the best moment. It doesn't get any better than this. Feeling the fullness of my humanity, the current of all of the emotions on both sides of the spectrum, what we would call positive and negative, but I just call them all beautiful emotions. But some of them don't feel as good in my body. And I sat there and thought, this is the best moment of my life. And then I got on my Voxer, which is how I process with my dear Fab Five friends. Shout out to any of you listening. I love you dearly. And I started processing. And I got real and vulnerable and authentic. Maybe that's not the right word, but it was very authentic and raw. That's probably a better word for it. And I just allowed this perfect, beautiful, raw, messy, emotional state I was in to be the best moment of my life. I was so grateful that I could feel this. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. I'm so grateful that I stopped outsourcing my emotional life to the future, stopped trying to stuff it. I'm so grateful for the emotional authority I've reclaimed for myself, little by little, by accepting myself exactly where I am and really believing it doesn't get better than this, even in the most hard times, because the hard times are what's going to eventually be our favorite moments of growth. The things that we look back on and we think that was so hard and so powerful for me. So gratitude and being present and saying, this is the best moment, doesn't get any better than this, is not bypassing. I think of it as a very directional thing I'm doing with my brain and my body. I want to be very clear here because this is where most people go wrong with gratitude. We often think gratitude is pretending everything is fine. And gratitude is not pretending everything is fine. That's bypassing. Gratitude is not telling yourself, I shouldn't feel this way. Other people have it worse. I think of that as self-gaslighting. That's what I do. I have done that to myself many times. And I'm like, no, it's not helpful. It doesn't make me feel better. And it's not true that I need to feel worse about something or try to feel better about something as compared to other people. Gratitude, the real kind of gratitude, is simply your brain directing itself toward one safe thing so you can feel your emotions without drowning in them. It's not a replacement for emotions. I like to think of it as a container for emotions. And let me add something here that I think is incredibly useful. It aligns with IFS, which is internal family systems, which is the PART systems. I love that system. I love using it with my clients. I love using it on myself. I really, really resonate with it. So if you are resonating with this and you have a part of you that's not wanting to feel all the things or not appreciating the moment, then welcome to the humanity party, right? It's probably a part that desperately is wanting to bypass discomfort. I was just talking to a mom today and she said, my goal for the next week is to be more comfortable with discomfort. And I love that because discomfort is the currency to success. It is the way that we are able to grow. There's no way around it. Nothing has gone wrong when we're experiencing discomfort. When we're experiencing negative emotions, nothing's gone wrong. What we want to do is create safety for that emotion or for that part to be in us so that we can hold ourselves in that safe place, in that safe container, so we can feel that emotion without having it drive the bus, as I call it. Come from the back of the bus and take over the driver's seat, because that part of us is usually pretty young. I don't think they're equipped to be driving the bus. Or another way to say it is they're just taking over every part of our body, flooding us. The nervous system takeover is another way to think of it. Or another way to think of it, if you think of the movie Inside Out and all those different emotional parts that are there looking at the dashboard and taking turns being in control, we don't want to be overtaken by an emotion that isn't productive for us. That doesn't mean we don't want to feel it. We don't want to become unconscious to it. Okay, so if you have a part of you that desperately wants to bypass discomfort, a part that says, let's skip over this emotion, let's get to the gratitude and the peace already, let's not feel this right now. This emotion is very inconvenient. I don't want to cry. I don't like to cry. I don't like to feel out of control. This is usually a protective part. It doesn't trust that you can handle the actual feelings that you're having. And if you're a parent, this is especially common because you have parts that think, if I feel this, I won't be able to show up the way I want to. If I get sad or overwhelmed, everything will fall apart. If I slow down enough to feel this, I'll get stuck in this emotion. I love that IFS, or internal family systems, again, the part system, gives us a clean and very direct way to work with this. So instead of obeying the bypassing part or arguing with it, we turn towards it and we say, I see you. I see what you're doing. I get why you want me to skip over this part. What are you afraid will happen if I feel this feeling? And this is where everything will open up. What do you need from me? That's another favorite thing I love to ask my part. 9 times out of 10, that part will tell you something. Now, when I'm describing this is in a meditative, a visualizing state where you're closing your eyes and you're having an internal dialogue with yourself. And when I do this and I say, oh, what are you feeling? What are you afraid of? It's okay. Oftentimes I will hear that part of me inside of my own head say, I'm afraid the sadness is going to overwhelm you. I'm afraid you won't be able to function. I'm afraid you're going to get stuck. I'm afraid you're going to fall apart. And I love it when I can start to feel these different parts inside of me and remember they're not the enemy. That's just a scared piece of me trying to help. And I like to say to this usually younger version of myself, I'm here. Grown-up Andy is here to help you. And when we acknowledge that part, something shifts. It stops driving the emotional bus, as I was describing earlier, and it lets you actually access the present moment. It lets you feel the emotion. You can get curious. You can be grateful for this part. I love to thank the part for trying to keep me safe. Gratitude in this context becomes something entirely different. Not, I'm so grateful. I should be so grateful for what I have because there's so many people less fortunate than me. I don't want to feel this way. I have so much to be grateful for. I shouldn't feel sad. I shouldn't feel angry. My child's not that bad. I should be grateful. And I love gratitude, but not as a way to not feel what's present for us in that moment. So instead, saying, I'm grateful and I can feel this because I'm supported internally. Leaning into gratitude can become an internal resource instead of an escape hatch. IFS calls this self-energy, the calm, curious, grounded awareness that can turn toward the emotion, can help us turn towards that emotion instead of away from it. And again, it's not bypassing. It's actually increasing our emotional capacity when we have this immense gratitude for that part of us that's scared. And we bring the adult, loving, wise version of ourselves, IFS calls this self-energy, this highest version of ourselves, to the table, and then we increase our emotional capacity. It's not bypassing, again, not numbing, not forcing positivity, just a steadiness to feel the real emotion without disappearing inside of it. And this matches perfectly with what Gordon Neufeld teaches. Emotions need a safe container. They need room to land. It needs to be supported, not suppressed. Gratitude provides that support. It allows us to feel safe so that we can go from mad to sad, so that our limbic system can do the magic thing that the limbic system does, that emotional center of our brain, with the aid of our cognition, but it's doing it on its own. It's able to work this amazing magic because we create a safe environment for us. So we get to create this internal pathway to access it when we talk to it like this, in this kind, loving, caring way. And then Neufeld gives us a developmental rationale for why it works. So yes, you still feel the sadness, you feel the frustration, you still feel the uncertainty, but you're not alone with it. You're not fused by it. You're not fueled by it. You're not drowning in it. You're with it in a steady, integrated way. And that is when emotion can be felt. It can move. Dr. Neufeld often says one of the biggest problems right now is we have more emotion, but less feeling. We have a lot of stuck emotions in our body that we haven't felt, and that's a problem. Okay, last week, like I said, I was in Arizona, which is where I was born and raised in Phoenix, and I met up with one of my oldest and bestest friends in the whole wide world. And she was telling me when we went out to lunch about something that had happened with one of her daughters who texted her and was in a challenging place, and she wasn't nearby. She was very far away, living very far away from her mom. And she knew that there was nothing she could say or do that was going to fix anything. And so this wise friend, who I admire so much, said she didn't try to fix anything. She just said, let's start messaging back and forth, just little things we're grateful for. Again, not to try to make her daughter feel better, but to just get more present in the moment. So she texted something, I'm making it up. She didn't tell me what she texted, but if I was texting, it'd be sugar cookies, right? Just one little thing. And then maybe her daughter would write back snow. And then she might write oceans. And then back and forth. Just little words, sugar cookies, snow, ocean, stars, warm socks, hot showers. Nothing deep, nothing profound, just tiny moments of goodness. And she said it made such a difference in how her daughter was able to be present and feel her emotions. Now, it didn't change the circumstances. It didn't change the problem. It just allowed her daughter to be more present with where she was emotionally and more grateful for the life experience she was having. And I want to explain why this works, because it's not magic. It's science, which my brain loves. And here's what a lot of us don't understand about gratitude. I don't like to think of it as some moral virtue or some personality trait. I don't even like to think about it as a practice, quote unquote, in the way people think about it. I like to think about gratitude as a neurobiological intervention. When you generate even a single moment of genuine gratitude, not toxic gratitude, not toxic positivity, not trying to bypass something, but just a tiny and maybe even seemingly meaningless moment of gratitude, like appreciating a good sugar cookie, several things happen inside of your brain. And there's been multiple studies to back this up. There was one from UCLA. It was the UCLA Mindfulness Research Center. I didn't even know they had such a thing, but it's kind of cool that they do. And it shows that gratitude activates the brain's dopamine pathways, especially the ventricle tegmental area. I hope I said that right. And the nucleus accumbens. And I want to talk about, though, why it matters. Dopamine is the chemical of motivation, forward movement. It's the chemical of reward anticipation. It's what helps lift you out of emotional paralysis, that foggy, stuck, helpless state that we all are familiar with from time to time. This is why the first moment of gratitude is the hardest one. You don't yet have the dopamine bump helping you out, but once it hits, it starts becoming easier and easier to generate the next one. And then there was some research from C. Davis and NIH-backed studies showing that gratitude journaling increases activity in the anterior cingulate cortex, a region associated with serotonin production and emotional regulation. So serotonin is a neurotransmitter most antidepressants target. Your brain knows how to make it, but it needs the right conditions. And gratitude signals those conditions. Serotonin does two things, and you need them both in hard moments. It calms the nervous system and it stabilizes your mood. So you're not swinging between panic and numbness. You feel more steady. Now, oxytocin increases when gratitude is shared, which is so fascinating, right? This comes from social neuroscience studies. Specifically, Paul Zak's lab was one of the major sources. And it showed that expressing gratitude or receiving it increases oxytocin. Now, oxytocin is the bonding hormone. It deepens trust. It enhances connection. It makes you feel less alone. So when my friend and her daughter were texting these little tiny things they were grateful for back and forth, their brains were literally syncing. Two nervous systems halfway around the world from each other, matching pace, calming down, co-regulating through these one-word texts. That's biology. And here's the most important part. Gratitude also helps interrupt the threat response. This is really big. The human brain is designed to overestimate danger and underestimate safety. It has this built-in negativity bias, and this is well documented in lots of studies. What does that bias do? Well, it defaults to worst case scenarios or catastrophizing, exaggerating problems. It's scanning constantly for what might go wrong. It amplifies fear and it shuts down access to perspective. I think we're all familiar with this feeling. The moment you start spiraling and you feel like everything's too much and this is going to end very terribly. Now, here's where gratitude becomes a game-changing resource for you. Not because it's going to make you feel good, but because it's directive. Because gratitude forces the brain to scan for something that's non-threatening. Maybe just one non-threatening thing, just one. Now, you can't generate a moment of gratitude without searching for something that is not dangerous. So you are literally shifting networks. You move in seconds from amygdala-driven vigilance to prefrontal cortex-driven perspective. This is why the emotional tone of your entire system can change with something as small as gratitude, being grateful for something, noticing the sky, the tree, the smell of a candle burning or a familiar food being cooked or a sunset. It didn't solve some big problem. It didn't try to eliminate some emotion. It didn't bypass anything. It allowed your state to change. And that shift makes all the difference. Emotion in a threat state often looks like overwhelm, but emotion in a regulated state will feel more like capacity, calmness, clarity. That's why the little text messages that my friend was sending to her daughter saying, oceans, I'm thankful for oceans, I'm thankful for sugar cookies, I'm thankful for snow, whatever it was. That's why it worked. And that's why gratitude, real gratitude, is a powerful place to be. It is a way of being that will change your life. Here is the part almost everyone misunderstands. So you can feel sad and grateful at the same time. You can feel overwhelmed and grateful. You can feel unsure and grateful. Those are the mixed emotional state of someone that's more emotionally mature. Those emotions are not mutually exclusive. They're not even opposites. They're not competing for space inside of you. They're part of a spectrum, and we need to feel all of it. Love comes with the possibility of grief. And when we start to get this, it changes everything. We start to realize that gratitude is not needing to be used to erase our emotions or make us feel better. It is the ground beneath our emotions. It doesn't make sadness disappear. It keeps you from collapsing under it. It doesn't remove uncertainty. It helps you tolerate uncertainty without spiraling. It doesn't eliminate frustration. It prevents you from being overtaken by it. And that's where the conversation shifts from emotional survival inside of you to emotional creation. Gratitude is the beginning of your future, not in a mystical way that feels something woo-woo or out there that you can't wrap your brain around. Not because something is handing out prizes to people who are grateful enough, not because positive thinking magically rearranges matter, but because gratitude changes your internal state from which you take every action in your life. It changes how you are being in this world. And when you start changing how you're being, your whole world changes. Your internal state is what determines the choices you make, the risks you're willing to take, the tone you use with your children, the way you regulate your own emotional nervous system, the courage you have access to, the ideas that you even are able to consider, the potential that you notice. Your state is everything. Your way of being is everything. And gratitude is one of the fastest ways to change your state without bypassing your emotions. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Gratitude allows your brain to pre-experience the future you're creating. So cool, right? To pre-experience the future you're creating. This is where neuroscience and cognitive psychology actually explain what spiritual teachers have been saying for thousands of years. When you feel gratitude for something that hasn't happened yet, you're teaching your brain a very specific lesson. And that lesson is that it is safe to imagine something new. Most people imagine the future from fear. They visualize in worst case scenarios. They predict danger, they mentally rehearse failure, and then they wonder why they don't feel motivated or inspired or capable. And gratitude turns that entire pattern on its head. Gratitude for what you desire before it even exists activates the brain in the same way as gratitude for what you already have. This is how the brain works. The prefrontal cortex sees the imagined future as plausible, and then the limbic system calms down because the vision feels safe. The motivational centers in your brain light up because dopamine is anticipating now this really cool reward, and then the nervous system relaxes because the future doesn't feel threatening. Gratitude reduces that resistance, that worry that something dangerous is happening. And when you are grateful for something you haven't experienced yet, you're telling your brain, I believe this is possible for me. I believe I can hold it. I believe I can move towards it. This is why gratitude is such a powerful creator of your future. It aligns your emotional state with what you want to build. And when your internal state matches the direction you want to go, your actions become inevitable. You parent different. You respond different. You see opportunity where you used to see threat. You make decisions without fear driving them. You become the version of you who can create the results you want. This is not because gratitude changes everyone around you. It's because gratitude changes you. And you are the one creating your life. This is the truth hiding behind so many of those ancient teachings on gratitude. Gratitude is the first step to receiving because it shifts you into the version of yourself who can receive. You're not waiting for something external to change. You're not waiting for a sign or a milestone or proof. You are experiencing in your body the emotional state of someone who has already accessed that joy, that steadiness, that possibility, and that makes all the difference. So I don't want you to think about gratitude responding to the results. I want you to think of gratitude creating the results. Gratitude creates the internal environment that produces results. It makes you emotionally available to the life you want. It makes you cognitively flexible. It makes you less reactive. It increases your resilience. It directs your brain towards solutions instead of threats. It keeps you out of survival mode long enough to create something intentional. And that is what so many of us have missed. Gratitude is not the pat on the back after life gets easier or you do something great. Gratitude is the doorway through which your life that you want to create becomes possible. Now, when you take these two ideas together, it doesn't get better than this. And I can be grateful for this moment exactly as it is. And I can actually be grateful for all of the things that I'm anticipating I'm creating before I even created them. That creates a kind of emotional fusion that most people never access. It snaps you out of the illusion that how you're feeling and what you're creating is controlled by things outside of you or lies in the future. It pulls you out of the fantasy that a different version of your child or yourself or your day is required before you can feel grounded or capable or connected or even just okay. And this combination is what ends this procrastination we have to feel better eventually. Because most people are emotionally procrastinating without even realizing it. How many times are you thinking, I'll feel calm when things calm down. I'll feel patient when my kids stop pushing back. I'll feel connected when we're not arguing. I'll feel grateful when the chaos ends. I'll feel hopeful when the future gives me something to be hopeful about. That's emotional outsourcing. That is handing your internal experience to external situations and circumstances that you can't control. When we start believing that it's the things outside of us that are controlling how we feel, it's so easy to feel powerless. But when you combine presence and gratitude and thinking, it doesn't get better than this. I'm so grateful for this moment. And I can feel gratitude for things that haven't even happened yet. You're going to interrupt all of that. You're going to stop postponing your emotional life. You're going to stop outsourcing your well-being to other people. You're going to stop waiting for yourself to feel better or have things feel more easy. You will become emotionally available now in the actual, real, unfiltered moment you're in, instead of waiting for the better moment to feel that emotion. And you're going to feel so alive. And here's the key. You don't do this because everything's amazing. You do it because the present moment is the only place emotional power exists. Your brain can only regulate in the present. It can only create in the present. It can only shift states in the present. The idea that the future will be better is a cognitive illusion. The only reason the future feels better than this moment right now is because you have different thoughts when you get there. And if you can think differently then, you can think differently now. When you understand that your capacity for steadiness and connection and peace and creativity and leadership isn't dependent on anything external. Nothing external needs to cooperate. It's just dependent on how you are being. Then we can stop waiting to feel the way we want to feel. That's the difference between reacting and leading. It's the difference between spiraling and regulating. It's the difference between feeling like you're drowning versus holding your ground. It's the difference between parenting from fear and parenting from confidence and presence. And the most empowering part is that your state, your way of being, is something you can influence. Not by force, surely not by bypassing, not by pretending, but by being present, by directing your brain towards something safe and true, by being grateful for this moment, even if you're uncomfortable. This is why something as small as noticing the snow on the ground, observing the ocean, looking up at the sky, and being present in that moment, being grateful for that moment, can change your emotional state. Not because these things are profound, not because they solve your problems, not because they remove your emotions, but because they give your brain a different access point, a point outside of the threat system, outside of the spiral, outside of the discomfort. So one-word gratitudes like that aren't trivial. I like to think of them as anchors that pull my mind out of the unconscious habit of scanning for danger and into the conscious awareness of something steady, something even more real. This moment, all of it. And that will shift the entire game. In that moment, your options change when you get present. When you say, it doesn't get better than this. I'm so grateful for this moment. I'm so grateful for what I'm creating. That's when your tone changes, your capacity changes, your relationship to the moment changes, your leadership changes, your presence changes, everything changes. Gratitude can help direct you to that change. And together, they can give you emotional power that so many people don't tap into because we're waiting for something outside of us before we can finally claim it. But you don't have to wait. You can be here fully now. You can find one true thing to be grateful for, and that tiny move can change the entire trajectory of your nervous system. It can be that simple. All right, my friends, let's bring this all the way in and land it. Here's what I've been teaching you today about gratitude, and it doesn't get better than this. First, gratitude is not pretending everything is fine. We are not using gratitude to bypass, minimize, or shame ourselves out of real emotions. You're not saying, I shouldn't feel this way. I have so much to be grateful for. That's gaslighting. Real gratitude is your brain choosing a point of safety so you can actually feel what you feel right now without feeling overwhelmed by it. It isn't the replacement for your emotion. It's the container for your emotion so you feel safe enough to feel your emotions. You can be sad and grateful. You can be overwhelmed and grateful. You can be scared and grateful. Again, that's emotional maturity. It's holding two things at once. Dr. Neufeld calls this mixed emotions. It's a good thing. Second, when I talked about it doesn't get better than this, I want you to know this is not a sentence about your circumstances. It's a sentence about your capacity. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that you believe your life is amazing and this moment is perfectly ideal and nothing should ever change. What it means is there is no future moment where your capacity for joy, peace, gratitude, or connection can be bigger than right now. You're 100% capable in your current state to tap into all of those emotions as much as you possibly can. Down the road, yeah, you might be able to feel things more fully, but in this moment, you have the ability to tap into yourself as much as you possibly can. This is a beautiful moment. The only thing that changes from season to season is how much of your capacity you tap into. So we have 100% capacity when we're born. We have the capacity to tap into every ounce of love and kindness. And sometimes we're only able to tap into it at 50% capacity. Nothing is wrong with you that you're not tapping into 100%. It's super hard to tap into 100% joy, love, peace, gratitude, connection, whatever it is. But over time, you can tap into more of it if you choose to develop it. And right now, you're tapping into as much as you possibly can. There's nothing wrong with you that you can't do more. You are already at 100% capacity. The only thing that changes from season to season is how much of that capacity your brain is blocking with its stories. Does that make sense? So when you say it doesn't get better than this, you are interrupting the illusion that your emotional life lives in the future. You're going to stop trading this moment for a better one that you think is going to happen down the road. You're going to stop postponing your emotional life until your child behaves or the schedule calms down or you finally figure something out. You're going to claim your capacity right now, and you're going to be grateful for however much of that capacity you can tap into, knowing that eventually, if you want to, you can tap into more. But nothing has gone wrong. You are exactly where you're supposed to be right now. In this moment, can we just appreciate where we are right now in today's moment based on all the things going on in our life? Third, gratitude changes the brain state. When you bring even one real moment of gratitude online, your brain releases dopamine, which is the motivation, hope, forward movement emotion. Serotonin gets boosted, which is the mood regulation and steadiness. And when you share gratitude, it increases oxytocin, which is the bonding connection hormone. But most importantly, it can begin to interrupt the threat response because your brain can't stay fully locked on danger and also scan for one thing it feels okay about right now. The second you ask for that one thing to be grateful for, the system starts to shift. Again, not because all your problems have been solved, but because you are now in a different state while you are facing whatever problem or emotion is in your way. That's what happened when my friend and her daughter were texting one-word gratitudes to each other. Again, situation wasn't fixed, but the emotional state shifted. Two nervous systems across the world co-regulating through one-word gratitudes. Fourth, gratitude isn't just about loving the present, it's also about creating your future. When you feel gratitude before the things change, your brain is pre-experiencing the future you want. You're teaching your system, it's safe to imagine something new. It's safe for me to hold goodness. It's safe for me to move towards it. That changes your decisions, changes your emotional way of being, your tone, the way you parent, the way you see problems, what you see is even possible for yourself. Gratitude doesn't sit and wait for results. It creates the internal environment that produces results. And finally, if you're listening to this and you struggle with anxiety, depression, or it's just a really heavy season, this work does not mean your struggle isn't real. It's real. Sometimes you need therapy. Sometimes you need medication. Sometimes you need more support than a podcast. This work is about what you do with your mind inside whatever is true for you. Make sure you're getting the support you need. And remember, gratitude and it doesn't get better than this are not cures. They're a way of relating to your life that remove the extra layers of resistance and self-attack, that increase your capacity to feel what you want, that give you real, repeatable access to peace when nothing outside has changed yet. And you always have that available. In the middle of carpool chaos, in the middle of bedtime meltdown, in the middle of a teen attitude, in the middle of your own exhaustion, one breath, one thought, It doesn't get better than this. One word of gratitude can be enough to open the door to something new. And that's what I have for you today. I love you. You've got this. And I'll talk to you next time. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, come check out my Connect Method Parenting Coaching Program, where we take this material and we apply it using my proven formula. Head over to cmp.works/join.